Welcome back to another episode of Continuously Refined. I'm Shayna,
And I'm Sicily.
and in today's episode 13, we're going to be talking about 8 tips to eating clean. And this is really like tips beyond the food that like you're already eating and the tips we've already given you. But before we dive into that, Sis has some updates. I think we've both been super, super busy recently, which is fun. All good things.
Yeah. Started senior year, so that's been good but busy. Met with my doctor, I think it was 2 weeks ago now. And wanted to just check in. I had gotten blood work done right before I came back to school. So we got the results of that done. And they were mainly hormone like blood work factors, I guess. And everything looks like really good. The estrogen levels and testosterone levels are back where they need to be. Insulin levels back where it needs to be, which is awesome. I'm able to come off of most of the supplements that I was taking for my hormones because they were short period ones that I was just going to take until those levels got back, which is awesome. I think I went from 13 supplements back to like 5 or 6, which is lovely.
Wait, this is so good. I didn't know this. Go,
Yes.
sis.
And the only things that were still low from a hormone level were my LDL and my cholesterol levels were super low. So my doctor was like, that's great in the way of you don't have any risk of heart disease and you're good. However, our hormones come from cholesterol. And so because I don't basically have like any cholesterol to produce the hormones, he thinks that might be the last like missing piece. So I'm now gonna be eating a lot more red meat. So I should be getting it like 6 to 8 times a week, which is just insane to me.
A
That
lot
is
of
not a
red meat.
recommendation for everybody. Like that is just something I have to do short term to like fix that level and see if that helps. So that's what I'm doing from a hormone side. And then for a gut standpoint, I have just been struggling with like my stomach reacting to different foods that doesn't normally eat. Like I use the example with him, and I'll use the same one for you guys of like the cauliflower gnocchi from Trader Joe's. I can have everything that's in it, so it should be fine for me to eat. But the very first time that I had it, it really hurt my stomach, and it was because like my stomach is almost treating it as like this outside thing that it hasn't had.
Hmm.
But my gut should be resilient to that and should be able to take that. And so we're really working on diversifying my gut microbiome in order to build up the resiliency of my stomach so that when I'm eating things that are obviously gluten and dairy free, but that are still whole foods and still good for me, that I can actually process those. So we're doing that by eating this like veggie mashup medley thing. I looked it up and like it's an actual thing that a bunch of doctors have like done research on and
It's
stuff.
so interesting to me. We went to the grocery store together, and Sis was like, I need to get like 8 different veggies. Like, Shane, I need ideas. And then I'm going to chop them up really thin and eat them all together.
Yeah.
But
Like
you
I
did
can
it.
even
You've been
like
doing it.
yeah, I can even put them in like water. Like he was like some people like have it in water, which I guess if you like put it super thin or like in a food processor, like I guess that makes sense. Like I don't know, but I'm supposed to get between like I think it was like 6 to 18 different vegetables, and they're supposed to be raw, which just like how many vegetables can you really even eat raw? And then I was like, are tomatoes still a vegetable? Like, you know how some of those are like now fruit, so I was just like
Yes.
all over the place. But the whole goal of it is like I start it with a tablespoon, and then you do that for like 4 days, and then you go to 2 tablespoons. And if that's going well, then you keep going. And if it's not going well, you give your stomach a little bit more time and then you move up. So I'm only at 2 tablespoons right now. So we're only on like week 2. But so far it's fine and it's going fine. And I was really dreading it and I was just being a baby. It's really not that bad.
Good. So
But
proud of you.
thanks. I think
And
those
I,
are all my updates from a gut standpoint. Gut's really like not awesome right now, which is sad. But
it's so frustrating for you.
yeah, but we're working on it and we're getting there. And I am gonna start, I told Shane this yesterday, but start working a lot on healing my nervous system and like working a lot more. I haven't talked a ton on the podcast about my anxiety, but I think that that is causing a lot of these issues. And so I'm going to focus on that more and I'll report back on how that goes.
Yes, that mind, body, soul connection that we don't
Yep.
even think is all together, but it totally is. So you'll definitely have to keep us up to date on all of that and like see, hopefully the changes are being made and then we can help other people if they're also going through those things.
Yeah.
So let's dive into these 8 tips. And we are super excited for this one because it's kind of taking eating healthy to the next level or like
Hmm.
eating clean to the next level. And so tip number one is really prioritizing whole foods. And this was something both Cicely and I started probably what, a year and a half, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Like really prioritizing whole food. So, like, does it come from the earth? Fruits, vegetables, nuts, meats. And if you can prioritize those things in your diet, you are so much more likely to get the nutrients that you're going to need. Another big thing to this that's super, super hard, but really beneficial if you have access to it is eating locally. Like, if
Yeah.
you know where your food is coming from and if you can eat locally sourced food, the nutrient levels are going to skyrocket through that. And so, depending on where you live and what season it is, that's going to be a lot easier to do than others. Along with like this whole food, we've kind of talked about it, like the dirty dozen. And are you buying organic fruits and vegetables? Because some fruits and vegetables, it's really important that you eat organic, or you're going to be getting a ton of pesticides, which leads to super negative things for your health. So, eating those organic foods. Oh, Cicely, this is an important one that I feel like you touch on a lot is like watching the dye in salmon, which is like actually the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why are we putting dye in salmon?
Yeah. Like even like I always like look for my salmon at Trader Joe's, but almost all the salmons at Trader Joe's have a dye added to them. And like you can see when you read the ingredient labels, like they come from different places, they have the dye in them. It's not just salmon, which is so crazy, but it's just just watching like the little things that are snuck into the meats that we're eating, the proteins that we're eating, like you don't think about it often. Um, and going like kind of into that too is like not eating things just because they say that they're gluten free or they're dairy free or they're from a weight loss program or whatever it is, because a lot of those things, which will kind of go into our second one, but a lot of those things have so many different ingredients in them, which kind of leads us to our second tip for eating clean, which is to watch out for processed foods that have a long list of ingredients. A really awesome rule of thumb for this is to look for 5 or less ingredients in things.
Yeah, and it's super hard, especially like when you make this change and you start to learn about like the positives and negatives of eating this way. And then you go through the grocery store and like I probably spend a solid like hour and a half at every single if I'm going to the grocery store for my weekly to pick up all my stuff because I'm sitting there and I'm looking at every single package and reading the ingredients. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, we're not even going to look at the packaged foods
Yeah.
because they're all just such full of crap that's so bad for you. And specifically, like what we try to look for are avoiding seed oils, which we've talked about before, your canola, your safflower, your sunflower oil that are so highly processed with a bunch of ton crappy additives. So avoid those seed oils, avoid the artificial sugars that are added, the natural flavors that are added, and kind of the dyes. Really, if you can just, again, like that first one, our first tip, prioritizing whole foods, you're automatically not going to have to deal with these issues in the processed foods.
Yeah, and a really great way to watch out for the processed foods that have the long list of ingredients leads us to our third tip, which is grocery shop along the outside of a store. So this is one you'll hear a lot. Everyone always says like shop the perimeter. So you
Yes.
walk around your outside of your grocery store, which will lead you to you'll first get to produce, all your fruits, your vegetables. Then you'll see your proteins that are normally in the back of the store. And then in the end, you'll often get by like eggs, dairy, and we talk a lot about how we don't eat a ton of dairy, but not all dairy is bad for you. There is a lot like of great nutrients that come from dairy, your calcium, you can get some protein from dairy. It's just more watching the other ingredients that are added into the cheeses and the milks and stuff that you have.
Yeah, totally. So that's an awesome tip. When I go to the grocery store, I pretty much only do the perimeter because Those middle aisles are where all the crap is, the bread, the chips, the juices, the cookies, and it's unnecessary and it's not a whole food. So
Yeah.
next time you go in the grocery store, you will fully realize how all of the whole foods are on the perimeter outside of the store. And
Yep.
then our fourth tip, and something that we do a lot to make eating clean easier and even just healthier, is meal prepping. And it's so much easier to spend those 1 to 2 hours on a Sunday meal prepping for the week. You already got like your cutting board out, you're cutting all your veggies, you're packaging it up. You have multiple things in the oven and the stove at that time, and so you're just setting that time aside once a week. So then it's so much easier for the rest of the week to now have all of these healthy, easy meals ready to go. Because I don't have time on a Wednesday night to make dinner. But if I made it at the beginning of the week or if I made my lunch, I can just grab it and that's a healthy option ready to go. Cicely does this a lot better than I do with meal prepping. You're so good. You always have your breakfast and your lunch at
Yeah.
the beginning of the week ready.
Yeah, I have Monday mornings free, which is awesome. And so I'll normally spend my Monday morning, go to the grocery store, come back, and I make all my breakfast and lunches for the week so that I have them and they're ready to go and I know I can just grab them. Some breakfast that I'll make is an overnight protein oats or chia seed puddings. And then lunches, both Shane and I almost always prep all of our lunches. And a big go-to for me is ground turkey Asian lettuce wraps. Lately, I'm trying to get the extra like red meats in, so I've been doing steak salads that I'll prep. This week, I think I'm doing steak fried rice for lunches,
Yum.
which I have to make after this actually, but those are all they're super easy to meal prep if you take Shayna likes her quinoa based like Mediterranean salad. So you
So
take
good.
your veggie and potentially a grain. You can have your rice, your quinoa, any kind of just bowl. You add it all together with a protein and you can throw a sauce on top or whatever. Makes it super easy to just throw in a Tupperware and grab later in the week.
Yes. So we love meal prepping for sure. That's an awesome tip. And then five, and something that I feel like not a lot of people know about, but it's becoming like there's much more awareness about it, is kind of what Cicely was talking about in her update. But our fifth tip is diversifying your gut microbiome. And so how you can do this is trying to eat 8 to 10 different fruits and veggies a day. So, yes, like strawberries are awesome, but if you're only eating strawberries, like you're only getting the nutrients that's in the strawberries. So, I try so hard. 8 to 10 is a massive number to shoot for, but I try to get in as many different types of fruits and vegetables as I can throughout the week to try and diversify my gut microbiome. So, pretty much what your gut microbiome is, it's like these trillions of microscopic organisms. So it's like good bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites that helps assist your body in different functions. So if you're lacking in this gut microbiome, it's going to be a lot harder for your body to complete these different processes. A lot of it has to do with your digestive system. So you're going to be able to break food down a lot better. You're going to be Your gut will provide enzymes to synthesize those nutrients. So not only are you breaking it down, but then how is your body actually absorbing the nutrients that you just ate, as well as metabolizing bile that's used to digest and absorb fatty acids. So that is a huge one that's really going to take like your healthy eating to the next level is diversifying that gut microbiome.
Yeah, and then our sixth tip for you is high protein, less of a blood sugar spike with how you cook your rice. This kind of goes into our one about meal prepping, but this is a super easy one that both Shannon and I will sometimes do at the beginning of our week. That way we have it just for the week ready to go. Also saves you time when you're cooking dinner or lunch and you don't have to heat up your rice. But always soak your rice in water before you cook it, rinse it off. Then cook it in bone broth instead of water. So you're like boiling it in bone broth essentially. It gives you that extra protein. And then you just have it in your fridge. You can heat it up the next day. And by putting it in your fridge, it'll break down the starchy carbs, which makes it a lot easier for your body to be able to digest it. So even if you make it and you're going to eat it in like an hour, throw it in your fridge so that it can break down those starchy carbs.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tips because I'm not really supposed to eat rice and these starchy carbs, but it's just easy. And so meal prepping it and cooking it in the bone broth has made a huge difference. So that's a really
Yeah.
good one that I
And then
want
you
to
don't feel like guilty, I guess, for eating it. Like
try.
we're
Yeah.
supposed to limit carbs so much that I feel like sometimes I feel guilty for like eating rice. But the weeks that I've made it in the bone broth, I'm like, oh, but I'm also getting now extra protein here. So I don't feel as bad about eating it.
And it tastes so much better. So
I agree. It
you guys
adds
should try it.
flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try the rice tips. Number seven, our tip number seven is for better digestion, drink apple cider vinegar before your meals. And this one is so hard. Apple cider vinegar is absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
Um, so you can either down it in a shot real quick, or sometimes I'll put it in warm water with lemon and just like sip on it. But the vinegar really slows down the rate that your stomach is empty. So this is the process that is able to improve um, how sensitive we are to insulin and help our body be able to move the glucose from our bloodstream into our cells. And so by doing this, you're going to have less of a blood sugar spike, depending on especially what you're eating. If it's a super big meal or if it's a meal that's like full of carbs, drinking that apple cider vinegar before you eat it is going to be huge, like a huge contributor to that. And I've also noticed by doing this, I'm so much less bloated. Like if I were to just eat like a oatmeal, I'd be super bloated after. But if I have that apple cider vinegar before, I don't get as bloated. So I think that's another really good tip that my doctor recommended to me.
That's awesome. That brings us to our last tip, number 8, which is to eat more fiber. So, this is another one that my doctor was talking about with me. And he was just saying that back in the days when we used to just forage for food and we used to be like more hunter-gatherers, we used to get around like 200 to 400 grams of fiber a day. Now, only 5% of the American population meets the daily recommended amount of fiber, which is like not even close to that number.
Yeah, so 95% of our population is not eating the amount of fiber that they are supposed to. And if you think about like the standard American diet and you're looking at the damn My Plate, it's like full of crap and processed foods, and we're not getting the fiber that we need. And it's so, so important for our bodies. It's really the main source of fuel for our gut microbiome, and it helps with the overall metabolic health. So your glucose and lipid regulation, as well as insulin sensitivity, and so would highly, highly recommend increasing the amount of fiber that you're intaking. But you kind of have to think about it. Like when you're going to the grocery store, you have to be like, oh, what foods am I going to add into my meal today to increase my fiber amounts?
Yeah. Another just like easy rule of thumb and like write out your grocery list before you go to the store. It like is such an underrated little tidbit of advice. It helps so, so much. Just like you know then what you're eating. It helps you to prioritize not grabbing those processed foods. I think really the only times that I end up coming home with processed foods is when I go to the grocery store and it like catches my eye, or I went without a list and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I could grab this week and I guess I could have this. And it's like I didn't need any of that. Like it wasn't, if it's not on my list, I stick to my list so much better and I'm like, nope, I don't need it. Like I'm trying to keep my grocery bill down. Like let's just like stick to this. um, I feel like that just like helps me so much in being able to meal prep and being able to just eat clean in general.
Yeah, so, so true. I think with these 8 tips, we're really hoping to be able to like help you guys take eating clean and healthy to the next level and just give you like practical, easy things to do to make you be able to get the nutrients that you're deficient in and feel so much better throughout the day. These are things that definitely you're not going to do them all starting tomorrow, but if you think about it, take one of the tips and implement it in, and hopefully it's really able to change your mindset around food and the overall health. So we hope that it was super helpful, and we will be posting some more meal like ideas on our Instagram. So yeah, if you have any questions, always DM us. We're here to help. We're trying our best to continue refining our lives. And so we are just so happy and grateful to be in that together.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, guys, to episode 13.
We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.